91.3 WBNY, and we are back with Jim Candytree. Welcome to the show, Jim. It's really great to have you on here. He is a genre-hopping singer-songwriter. He is also known as the co-founder for Whiskey Reverb and Super Killer Robots, and you are also affiliated with I'm From the Government, and I'm Here to Help, the mouthful title for our band.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, I wanted to first talk about your solo project that you're working on here, which is Jim Candytree. Talk about Candygram. Now, this is very different from anything you've done. It's different from Super Killer Robots, which is heavy, it's metal, it's loud, it's in your face. It's different from the jam you do with Whiskey Reverb, and different from what you've done with I'm From the Government, which is also metal and in your face. How did you land into doing some alternative indie folk rock?
Oh, that's a good question. I like writing songs. I started writing some of these songs that were on Candygram a few years ago, and I just kind of kicked them around, and they didn't really fit with anything I was doing. So maybe I've grown a little bit that way towards those types of songs, and it was a cool opportunity. Doug Whitehead approached me to get me into Watchman Studios and do some of these songs, and he really pushed me and prodded me to do it, and it was super cool. I had a lot of support from friends too, and writing songs like that is super fun to show like your friends, like, hey, this is pretty cool, you like it, you know. So so far it's been really good positive feedback coming from that.
And Watchman Studio also helped you, Super Killer Robots, with that music video.
Absolutely, yeah. Doug did that as well. That Manny Ramirez video on YouTube is Doug White with some cameras and
flashing lights.
Yeah, that was
fun. Now, Ghost in the Machine. This sounds like it's one of your first love songs you've ever written. Is it correct to say that this is one of your first love songs?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, it's definitely maybe love songs isn't something I totally have really written ever before, but yeah, I would say in this case, sure, yeah.
Now, it's more about music, though. It sounds like it's your love, not for another human, but your love for music. Now, what was the process of writing The Ghost in the Machine?
Oh, okay. Yeah, music is so important to me in my life. And I never really, I don't know how to treat it with enough respect that it deserves. From being younger and writing really therapeutic songs that made me feel better in a world that I probably hated, to bonding with friends over music and that having be like a common ground in any capacity. Man, I just wanted to write a song to really show music how much I appreciate it, even though it's maybe not a tangible thing, but it's totally a living thing to me.
Right. And now, like I've probably said 8 million times already, your solo project, once again, is very different from other music you've made. So is this the reason for that? Is this because you solely work by yourself with this instead of having to work with, 5 or 4 other people in a band?
Yeah, probably. I definitely had a lot more creative output over all the parts of, the solo stuff, as opposed to working, with really great friends and kind of coming up with whatever comes out of that. This is definitely more genuinely me as an artist, for sure.
Now, how different does this feel? Was it almost kind of weird when you just sat down by yourself and you're like, I'm going to write my own song that I'm going to produce by myself and no one else will have part in?
It was weird because it kind of wasn't like that. It was more like I have these songs that I would play on acoustic guitar or on a piano, and what would it be like to have that as a foundation and then just throw a bunch of things that just kind of come to mind that I always kind of felt inside. Like, I want this, I want a tambourine here, I want, shakers here, I want to do this crazy vocal harmony that I can't do, without like some sort of recording. So it was just kind of like, yeah, let's do all that, and see what comes out. And that's what kind of just ended up coming out.
So how did you get your start from just being a singer to learning how to play all these different instruments? What kept you going doing this?
My dad had a lot to do with it. My dad was a musician, still is a polka musician. And I was exposed to music young with him, and he had all kinds of cool stuff for me to mess around with and annoy him with. So I learned to play piano from his girlfriend at the time was a church organist, and she had a piano in the house, and I'm like, I want to mess around with this. So I started doing that when maybe I was 15 or so. And I had messed around with guitar, but never effectively. So it was just kind of having all this stuff there, and I was pretty ADD. Just let me play this, let me try this, and just kept going at it.
Did you find that you almost had a natural talent to playing these instruments? Did it take you long to catch on to how to play each instrument?
It did. It took me a while to catch on. You mess around, and then I think something kind of clicks inside of you to say, I bond with this particular thing, and, I'm cool and comfortable feeling the vibrations coming out of it, I guess. And then you're like, because you're never satisfied, I guess, as an artist. You'll always be like, man, I wish I could do this. I want to do this. But there comes that point where you have to just let go, and being able to do that is the greatest release that you can find, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Now, do you think that you're going to delve deeper into the solo project? Maybe will it possibly distract you from the projects you're on right now, like Super Killer Robots or any other group band that you're in?
I don't really know, Sarah. I'm just kind of letting it go where it's going to go. Whiskey Reverb has some traveling coming up soon, so dedicating a lot of focus to that upcoming. And I still love making music with all those guys and doing everything like that. So I hope I can continue to do all this and more. I was blessed enough to be able to put out a record with Whiskey Reverb, a full length this year. I'm From the Government's EP came out this past year, and Super Killer had a EP come out early in 2014 as well, plus the solo stuff. So I was busy, and I hope I'm busy the rest of my life like that.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question: time. How do you find the time to do what you're doing, the solo project, and then these 3 other bands that you're working with?
Well, I've trained a couple body doubles to walk around town for me. And
you have your clones?
Yeah, this way we're able to pull it all off. No, I don't know. I just try to take care of my body more. So
it's almost like, in a very positive way, you're a workaholic.
Yeah, it's easy to do when you love something. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like life more.
Right. Now, we're going to listen to one of your tracks from Candygram, which everybody out there can find on noisetray.com/JimCandytree/Candygram. It's also on Reverb and Facebook, right?
Yeah, Bandcamp as well. You can get it, pretty much just take it for free, I think, on most of these sites. You just grab it.
Right. Well, we talked about the Ghost in the Machine, but now I want to talk about Breaking the Spell. So before we play that, what's something you want the listeners to know about this song?
Ooh, Breaking the Spell. That I don't really remember writing, if that's a weird thing to say.
No, not really.
It just kind of came out, I guess. So sometimes it happens like that.
Well, let's jog your memory then. We're about to listen to Breaking the Spell by Jim Candytree.
And the things you say control you and expose you for the things you are. You help me break all my mirrors. You're my soul mirage, and I find myself living in fear. And yeah, your skin is like porcelain, and I cannot let it go. As these feelings coming in empty hearts, and they're bleeding in my soul. So lay your truth on me. I may be weak, but I can take may be weak, but I can take it. If you got some kind of spell on me, then I'm asking you to break it. Yes, I'm asking you to break it. Yes, I'm asking you to break it. Yes, I'm asking you, please set me free. And I'm asking you to break it. I'm asking you to set me free, and I'm asking you to break it.
The soft side of Jim Candytree you've just heard. Now, tell me about this. It all seems, I know you said you don't remember writing it, but it seems very sentimental. It seems like it's another love song that you have written. Tell us a little bit about Breaking the Spell.
Yeah, I at the time I was staying with my bro Tom Beeler and Scotty Harrington, and I was kind of couch surfing for a couple months, and I was writing all these weird songs, and this is one that just kind of came out, and yeah, it's very sentimental to me. I would imagine being able to play it and stuff, but I guess I get kind of shy about stuff like that. Expressing yourself is always awkward, especially in public. So,
right.
Yeah, stuff like that it's fickle how it kind of feels. It's like to hear it back, even it's like, wow, it's weird because you kind of block out memories of maybe things that you don't want to remember subconsciously, and that song's got some like pain in it and some misery. So. That's funny how things go like that. So
it's almost a stepping stone in life for you, like not just your music career, but in, like you just said, it's hard to be open like that because it can be kind of awkward. And it's not that, Super Killer Robots or I'm From the Government was a mask, but it was a different way for you to express yourself without being intimate. And this isn't. This is clearly you being more intimate about your life. So are you comfortable with performing this kind of music out at like Tudor Lounge or whatever venue you'd find yourself?
Yeah, I'm comfortable performing it. I'm getting there at least. I had the opportunity to play up in Rochester last week, solo acoustic. And it's really the first time I had done something like that. I mean, in this type of capacity. So it went all right. I still close my eyes and pretend no one's there. So it's weird. It's a very naked feeling, but it's cool still. It's invigorating.
Well, now I know what that means when musicians close their eyes while they perform. Because usually I'm like, what are they doing right now? Are they pretending that we're not here? I guess it makes sense because I can imagine it's nerve-wracking going out there and pouring your heart out to a crowd. Even if it's your friends, there's still people out there you don't know, and
Absolutely.
You're just revealing a side of yourself to strangers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hoping that maybe they can relate, to some way, shape, or form, and be able to have a deeper connection.
Right.
Imagine.
So what were some inspirations for this project, I know you said you have a hard time trying to compare yourself to another sound and you don't know really what to consider this, but what do you find yourself thinking of? What songs or musicians do you find yourself thinking of when you're writing these type of songs?
See, I could say that with other stuff. In this particular case, I really don't know. I have some things that I really like to listen to, but I would never say that I have any direct influence on this stuff. Sometimes it comes from things I really don't really have any idea of. I love the Cranberries, so maybe that's something. Jeff Buckley is sweet too. Blind Melon, Love Nico. What a great
Lionel Allen's
album.
great.
So maybe stuff like that. Some of the inspiration comes from there because it's very stripped down and, very emotional and powerful and stuff like that still.
So, being the genre hopper that you are, what scene do you associate yourself with, or do you not feel the need to have to associate yourself, with the metal scene, the punk scene, the indie scene in Buffalo?
In my opinion, Sarah, I try to. I don't even say try. There shouldn't be a scene. Everything is everything. Buffalo is so diverse musically that some of my favorite parts of the scene are the fact that some of these genre walls are being broken down. And people are just cool with making music and complimenting each other, and being able to do that, regardless of metal, punk, indie, or whatever, funk, jam bands, stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of people doing it. It's spreading to a point where I think the lines are blurred quite a bit. There's still your traditional scenes, and I still love my basement shows as much as anybody. But it's cool to see. Buffalo music is just more than just Buffalo metal or Buffalo punk, Buffalo hardcore. It's blended more and more all the time, every year, I think. It's come a long way.
So it's almost like there's a negative connotation to the word scene, because scene almost is like that defines that there's a separation between each different group. Almost like saying that your song falls under one genre, that makes it a separation in itself.
That's how I feel, sure. I think that's very true. To put up any separation is just, I don't think there's any need for it anymore. We've come a long way, from rock and roll and stuff like that. And it's no secret that maybe 5 years ago, Buffalo was a cover band kind of town. So to get anybody out to any show is a monumental task. But now that it's become something that, people love music. So why should we ever put any kind of limit on that or segregate it? I don't feel like that should ever be done.
Well, and I think that since this is a smaller local community that we're discussing, it's hard to have any hard evidence or facts. So it's like somebody should go write a book and have some documented sources. So like when we talk about this, we could just pull it up on the internet and cite it, because it's very opinionated to say things like we don't have a music scene or we do have a music scene or it's segregated. And something I feel like I've maybe noticed, and I could be 100% wrong, is that there is a segregation between, the hardcore scene and then the house scene and then the bands that will go to After Dark for promotion and then the bands that will go to their friends to be promoted.
That's a good point. A definitely valid point. I don't really know. I can't speak personally for maybe some of the people that go to the After Dark scene stuff. I'm not into that particular type of thing, but the things that I do see is that just personally I've seen like shows grow in popularity. I've seen more diverse bills of different types of bands reaching over more to be able to incorporate other sounds and styles, bands that are creating more than one genre at a time. And I think that's all really good and positive stuff for the scene. And it's, whatever it ends up falling under. It's cool to see. There's venues now where people can interact. Instead of the hardcore kids standing with their arms folded in the corner, they can get down with
right.
Metal and punky bands and beyond that, like indie blends right in there, and it's pretty cool to see some of the progressive bands that play progressive metal be able to interact with some of the progressive jam bands. That's like, to me, that's a Buffalo thing all in itself. Buffalo has a long history of like funk bands, from Rick James to Kool and the Gang and stuff, and that's passed down. So it doesn't have any like genre or color or age even. It's pretty cool. And there's venues that support that type of thing now. So it's nice to see.
Right. And there's bands like Swill. I don't know if you ever heard of Swill.
Yeah. Oh,
they're great because they're literally, I had them on the local show last week the week before Christmas. They went from playing heavy music to indie music to something soft, and I was like, I love this. You play anything. You can be a lullaby before bedtime, or you could be something that I'm going to get all my rage out during my drive to work or school. So, bands like that, they expressed finding difficulty in where can they fit in. Since they're not just one genre, who is going to want to be on a bill with them? So I almost feel like that can also make it difficult when you want to be a genre hopper to find a band that wants to take you seriously and wants to play the same show that you're playing.
Yeah. They're out there, though. The bands are out there to find. I would hate for anybody to be fearful of that and let it stifle their creativity or where they're naturally going. Because we all feel obviously different stuff, you know. I love all kinds of types of music. I mean, as much as I want to rage out or if I want to chill out, you know, I can find anywhere in between. You know, I think anybody can relate to that. And to be able to have the opportunity to make music that way or share in the music if your band is a certain way and you also appreciate this. I mean, it's a big thing. There's so many guys and girls I know right now in the scene that are like, they're expanding their mind to that type of thing. And I think it's been just nothing but beneficial for close-knit community. It's raising the bar for people's, you know, songwriting and the material being put out. So, I mean, it is out there. I don't know if it's in the After Dark circle. Maybe it's not, you know. Maybe those bands have to fit into a certain thing to get on certain bills that they want to be on. But I don't think that reflects, you know, that's a very, very small minority of the type of stuff that's being put out right now.
So that separation, is it safe to not look at that as segregation, but just bands being part of different levels almost? Not to say they're above one another, but you're at a different level if you go to After Dark because now you're looking to play with bigger bands as opposed to going to, you know, Steak and Cake Records. There's that big difference there. Should this word segregation not even be used, or is it safe to call it a segregated scene?
You're probably right. It's hard to say, though, because you're talking about a fine line, I think, as far as the bottom line is being able to put on a show for your friends that they'll enjoy going to, because it's not so much about us as artists making music. It's about making music for people that appreciate that. So, you know, if that means that your band is going to be on an After Dark show and you're going to be direct support for a big band that you really love and your friends really love, more power to you. That's wonderful. But if you have to, you know, for lack of a better term, maybe sell your soul a few times and have to open up for 20 minutes at 6 o'clock when this headliner goes on at 10, you know, and pay your dues, quote unquote, I don't know. Is that worth it? Maybe it is to some bands. But once you get to the level, you know, you rise to where you're trying to go, you know, and you find out maybe that it's not as beautiful as it once seemed, or maybe you're living in that moment so much that you kind of don't see the forest from the tree. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I guess it all does depend on where you're going for. Because, you know, there's one band, On the Cinder. They are usually a house band, and they opened up for Authority Zero twice through working with After Dark, and they still can keep their roots. So I think it all depends on how big you want to get and the route you decide to take. And there's no saying what's wrong or what's right. I just think that it makes Buffalo, if anything, more diverse.
Sure, that's
as
a great
music
point.
Community.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. That's a really good point.
Now, how have you seen the music scene evolve or devolve or grow since you first got involved? From your days of Whiskey Reverb to your solo stuff to all the other bands that you've seen formed.
Well, a big thing I can honestly say when maybe I first started playing music in the scene. We all had terrible recordings that we would try to force down our friends' throats to come to shows and see us play. And our really good friends would come out and see us, and they would leave. And I would say within the last 5 years, just people began to care more, and the quality of the product got better. And people that love music came out for the right reasons, maybe. The venues started taking better care. We got rid of some of the crooked promoters that were just trying to rip off kid bands, which I have an issue with that. You know, I don't think that that's a good. We cut that connection out. You know, we were able to go and earn enough respect with the venue owners, and the venues that really genuinely cared are still around. And there's more now out there, like Ironworks and Mohawk is back open, and those venues are independent. They are diverse, and they care about the music, and they put a high-quality product out where your friends don't mind $5-7 to go see a really cool show with bands, not just their friends' bands, but other bands that they know will be good. You know, the quality of the product, I must say, is the biggest thing I think I've seen just really blossom. We're blessed with some great studios around here that are putting out, you know, bands go there and they get a good product to put out, and they put it on Reverb Nation, and people can hear it, and it's accessible. You know, that wasn't around maybe 10 years ago. You know, MySpace was around, and it was kind of like a demo recording of MySpace of your practice or something. But
MySpace is still around, too. I've seen some bands who still have MySpace, and more power to you. If that's what you want to use, that's great.
Absolutely.
Throwback.
Totally. Artwork. It's all about the artwork.
So then what is how would you want to rationalize to somebody who wants to go out to a show and they're whining and complaining about having to pay the $5 cover because why am I paying to see this band? What's your response? You know, this is a way to support local bands. What's your immediate response?
I would say if you don't want to, then don't. You know, like if it's not for you, it's not for everybody. I can say that there are really, really good shows. On any given weekend, you can catch 5 to 10 shows locally for $5 or less that are high quality, that I don't think anybody walks out of there going, I can't believe I spent $5 on that. And it's changed quite a bit to the point where you'll catch a band and you're like, who is this? Who is this, man? So many people ask me, like, who's this band you got? Or what's this going on? We do Tutor every Thursday, Whiskey River. We try to bring in an opener every week, and I try to really seek out really good ones I know my friends will like, and you know, maybe I've earned enough of their respect to be like, oh, it's going to be good, you know, no matter what it's going to be something entertaining and worthwhile. So I think a lot of people are practicing that same type of thing. They're going out to more shows, they're catching more bands, they're saying, hey, you should check this band out. People are making a deeper connection. You know, I personally think that that's what's going on. So it's hard pressed to find anybody anymore that's walking out like it was maybe at Merlin's in 2005, where people were like, man, it smells terrible in here. I can't believe I just spent $5 to see this or whatever. But it's not like that anymore, I don't think.
Absolutely. I think it's always important to go to a show and remember why you're at that show. You're at the show to hear the band, not to go and waste all your money on the booze and then stand outside and smoke cigarettes and be that person who's just standing at the bar and not paying attention to the band.
Totally.
You know, because there's a big difference between somebody who's going to go out to a bar to get drunk and there just so happens to be a band there, and then somebody who's like, I'm going to go to this bar because that band is playing. Because, you know, Whiskey Reverb's at Tudor Lounge right now.
That's a good point. But I also think a band should earn your respect. You know, if you come there with an open mind, you know, that's all you have to do. And the band should earn your respect, in my opinion. And there's so many right now that are working so hard, and they have such a good sound that if you go as a music lover with an open mind, you will find a couple hundred really great bands here right now. And they're staying here. They're not leaving, which is another big part of it, too. You have bands like the Albrights and Aqueous, who are phenomenal bands that if they were in this scene 10 years ago, they would have went to New York or they would have went to Toronto or L.A., but they're staying here, and they're finding roots here, and they're growing from here. The Tins. There's so many good bands. I mean, and they're here. They're here right now, and it's pretty cool to see that. Right.
It's good to change that stereotype that you need to get out of Buffalo to be successful, and
Absolutely.
change it to you could stay here and you'll be successful.
Yeah. Pride in the scene, pride in the art that comes out of here is as real as you can be anywhere in a country. I mean,
Absolutely.
You've traveled to other cities. You know how it is. You know, the hustle bustle of this, the way this is, the down home. I mean, Buffalo has a very real community here. We take things very personally. We're very, open. Our hearts are wide open. We're tough, strong-nosed. I mean, you can't get any realer for inspiration as far as music is concerned. I mean, Buffalo is a killer place to write songs or be an artist in general. There's a lot of inspiration here.
Right, because pretty soon the article is going to come out that reminds people we're not known for our chicken wings and our horrible winters and all of that shenanigans that we're usually known for, but we're known for the art and the culture that we have here.
Totally.
So, and it's good because it does take that small, intimate community to keep that thriving. And so what's some advice you have for bands just starting out on a budget? They want to promote themselves, but they don't have that thousands of dollars to spend on Facebook to get more people seeing their statuses, you know. I mean, and you being in all these projects, you obviously probably didn't come out to be this successful overnight. It probably took a lot of work. So what is some stuff you did?
Yeah. Open mics, play open mics. They're free. They're great exposure. Make connections with people that are of a like mind as you. That's a great way to start making friends in the music community. Be open-minded. Play a lot. Play as many shows as you possibly can at first. That's my advice. Go out and support as many shows as you possibly can. A lot of people have a tough time doing that, and it's understandable, man. A lot of us are busy, but go catch a show. Make it a point, whatever your budget can take or whatever your time constraints may be. Try to catch a show a month or a show every 2 weeks or whatever you can do. And try to map out a show that you want to see. Start trying to get into bands that are local. Experiment by listening to different genres and seeing who's playing what. And I mean, everyone has material online. One good quality recording is always really great, too. It's amazing what a video can do for you. A video on YouTube that's high quality can really open doors for people that are on the fringe of liking music or not. You know, if it looks good, they'll be inclined to watch it longer, and you know, you'd be inclined to grab them a little bit more. I think that's a good way to invest some money into music.
And are there any upcoming bands that you have discovered within the past 6 months to a year that you'd like to mention?
Locally,
of course.
Gee, there are so many.
Only locally. We only talk local on the show.
I feel like I would slight so many bands if I didn't. Like, I mean, I have a list. Oh my goodness. Metal bands. There are so many good metal bands. Getting to play shows with the government. Oh my goodness. Everyone is just great musicians, and they have a style to themselves, and that's a cool scene right now. The metal scene that I saw the government trying to establish, forced unity and hard truth. That's their statement. They would blend hardcore bands, metal bands, traditional metal bands, metalcore, punk, and they made these shows that they would, you know, promote were killer. So any band that ever played with the government blew my mind. As far as maybe like folk indie stuff, I mean, the Sleepy Ha-Has are killing it. They're so good.
Playing at Gypsy Parlor on New Year's Eve.
Yes,
check that
awesome. out. The Folk Faces are top-notch band. Love the Folk Faces. I think that Tyler is amazing songwriter.
He is everywhere. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just have to say this real quick. Tyler is everywhere, always playing music somewhere. Right now, he is probably playing music somewhere.
Totally.
Even if he's by himself, he's incredible. Over the summertime, I found him at the Birchfield Penny, not even on purpose. I'm just going for a walk, and I turn around. I'm like, Folk Faces, they're playing right now. It's not even infringement yet.
That's
you know,
so
they're
cool.
great. They're great.
He's living it. They're so good. There's so many good bands. Functional Flow and any of the jam bands right now that are Sky Pilot, Aqueous. Seeing them at Buffalo was like a religious experience almost at night. I was like, oh my goodness, they are so good. There's so many good bands. I mean, I don't even know any genre you want to talk about. I mean, like Sleepy Ha is obviously like an indie type project. If you want to talk like rock, hard rock, there's a band from Rochester called Sativa.
Oh, yeah.
They crush every live show I've ever seen them play. They are so good. There's so many, Sarah. I don't even know.
It's so hard.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard to just narrow it down to just the few that there are, because there's so many that are just up and coming and more that are going to constantly be thriving. So it's really it's a good thing that it takes time for you to wean out. Not even wean out, to think of all the ones that you want to mention.
Totally.
Definitely Aaron and the Burrs played last night at on Niagara Street.
Aaron and the Burrs. I
Aaron
have
and
not
the
heard
Burrs.
them. I'm going to check them out. Okay.
They are surf to the core. Yeah. No lyrics, no vocals, just guitar, bass, drums. That's a real surf band, and they're great. I would definitely give them a listen.
That sounds great. Okay, and Old Pound, have you heard them yet?
No, I haven't.
They're like this crazy progressive Celtic like rock thing that's just like bends your brain and makes it weird. So good.
You know what I really enjoy? A Havaraba.
Havaraba. I don't know this. Okay.
The Celtic, or not Celtic. They're the Clemser band. There's like 6 of them, 6 or 7 of them. Yeah.
Dude.
We had them in on the local show not too long ago.
All right.
And that's what I love is you're always going to learn about a new band every day, no matter how embedded into the community. I'm going to call it the community, not the scene. How embedded you are, you're always going to learn about something new.
That's the best part. There's so many. You got to write those 2 down for me.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. And unfortunately, we are running out of time. But before we go, we know we can find you every Thursday at Tudor Lounge. Where can we see with Super Killer Robots or see you play some solo music or with the government?
Yeah, actually, this is really cool. New Year's Eve, the government and Super Killer Robots are at Tudor Lounge for New Year's Eve. And we're bringing in Sativa to open the show.
Nice.
So that's going to be a really hard-hitting, fun rock and roll lineup. So New Year's Eve, that'll be a show. And there's some other stuff. Super Killer Robots, Whiskey Reverb, I'm from the government. Anybody on Facebook or whatever, check them out. They should be pretty easy to find. Other than typing, I'm from the government, I'm here to help is really long.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. That's why I'm just going to say government. I don't want to say the whole title. It would make a cool t-shirt. The band name probably makes a cool t-shirt, but I'm just going to say government. To save myself the laziness that I am.
GOVT. That's it. I quit.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. Thanks for coming on the show to talk about the music scene with me.
Sarah, thanks for having me.
No problem. And stay tuned, folks, for some more local music. And if you want to catch the interview, if you missed it, it will be on www.facebook.com/alltalkbuffalo. Stay tuned for more music, and next week we will be back.